right. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode 13 of the VT Roundtable. I am joined, as usual, by a cavalcade of Vikings connoisseurs. I came up with that before the show. How do you guys like that?
Very nice.
That's got to be thesaurus.com.
No, man, come on. What are you trying? Are you doubting my damn it, I can't come up with the word for it. So
now I am. Now I definitely am.
I guess that proves your point. No, but I came up with those words, man. Anyway, so glad to have you three gentlemen tonight. We're missing Drew and Adam. We're all praying for Drew. He's still dealing with that sunburn. I think it's completely bedridden him for a week and a half now. So if you haven't been praying for Drew, you got to pray for Drew. And then Adam, I don't know Adam. He's got 4 children, so who knows?
So we're praying for him too.
Yeah, we're also praying for Adam.
Always.
Tonight is Vikings jersey night. BJ didn't get the memo because he's dealing with some catastrophic issues in his basement with some flooding and whatnot. So we're going to forgive him. But Sam, why don't you tell people what jersey you're wearing tonight?
Thank you. You guys probably know this one is a very popular Vikings jersey at present day. It's 74. Big Bryant McKinney, ladies and gentlemen.
Bryant McKinney.
In fact, the only Vikings jersey I own.
Yes.
Big fan of McKinney and Miami nightclubs. So.
Wait, hold on. Did you say that's the only Vikings jersey you own?
Yes, it was a gift, third hand. I believe it cost $9.
That's the best type of gift right there.
I'm not a big jersey guy. I'm really not, but have a soft spot for this
Let
one.
me ask you guys something really quick, and this is getting off topic, but how do you feel about jerseys not like during the NFL season for grown men to wear jerseys like, out in public when it's not to a game or to, just the off season, regular Wednesday, you're wearing a football jersey?
I think the only jersey you should be able to wear is an NBA jersey and like a throwback jersey too.
And that's only on the beach.
Yeah, it's only on the beach. That's the only time.
Spring break exclusive.
Or when you're doing the round table, but that's about it.
Right.
So,
I used to be that guy that just wore jerseys all the time, but I'm trying to be more conscious about it. I know it's not a good look as I get older, so
they're not flattering. They're just they're big.
Right. And especially on me, I look like a big purple dinosaur. I've been called Barney when I wear a Vikings jersey just because of my size and the purple.
I like hockey. Hockey jerseys are nice though.
Oh my god! I think
they double as sweaters.
Yeah, I just wear my robe out too. While we're at it, holy
hockey
crap!
Jerseys are ugly, man.
Oh, I love them. I love
those big long
the
sleeves. Not my thing. Anyway. We got a pretty interesting show planned tonight. We're at a point now in the offseason where we have a pretty good idea of who all's on the roster. The Vikings are headed into OTAs, and then they're going to go into training camp. And one of the goals that those guys are going to have undoubtedly is evaluating the roster. So ultimately that evaluation is going to result in a final 53-man roster. And tonight, we're not going to make any roster predictions yet. We'll probably do that in a later show. However, I thought it would be a good time for us to take a look at the roster position by position and kind of evaluate where we think it's at. Also, there's kind of a lull in general Vikings news right now, so it'll just be a good time for us to do that before things pick back up. So we had the whole VT team go through position by position and provide an overall grade by position. The overall grade is just supposed to be basically, you're grading the group as a whole, whereas we also had everyone provide a grade for the depth specifically. And the point behind that was to kind of get everyone's input on how deep they think the position is at this point. So we're going to go through position by position, talk about those grades. We'll have some talkers throughout. But first, let's hit some quick news items. We just lost Austin, so he's probably having some technical issues. He'll probably pop back in here in a second. First, we're going to talk about some news items. So Mike Zimmer had I think it's his 7th now, eye surgery. Sorry about that, Austin. I don't know what happened, but glad to have you back. So Zimmer had his 7th eye surgery, and the team and coach decided that it was in his best interest to step away from the team for a couple weeks during OTAs and let things heal properly. Obviously, this is a concerning issue at this point. Not sure kind of what lies ahead for Mike Zimmer and his eye, but I guess my question to you guys is how concerned are you about this issue? I mean, I've seen a lot of doom and gloom, justifiably so. It is we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings, so I've seen a lot of his career's over. He's not going to be coach for much longer, et cetera, et cetera. Where do you guys stand on this? I'm sorry. Anyone can jump in and take that. Austin, are you good now? Are you still having technical difficulties?
No, I'm here.
Okay, so Austin, I don't know if you got all of that, but we're talking about Zim. How concerned are you about his eye?
I'm not a doctor, but you didn't know that? No. 8 surgeries on one eye is probably not a good thing, and I think there comes a point for anybody, whether you're a coach, whether you sit in front of a computer all day long, whether you, drive a truck or whatnot, that you start to wonder, hey, is this going to be an ongoing problem? Can I keep doing this? So maybe his eye pressure right now is good. Maybe everything looks okay in his eye, but there's a reason you have 8 eye surgeries. So I'm pretty concerned about it. I told my sister, who's a nurse or a nursing student, and her eyes kind of opened up. So I don't think it's something that we can just say, oh, it'll be fine in 3 weeks. Like, this is an ongoing thing, and if anybody saw his eye, it's in bad shape. So I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, I agree. With each additional surgery, it gets a little more concerning. It started out just as, okay, this is something that needs to happen, and then as it goes and goes and goes, it just doesn't sound good. It sounds like, without a doubt, he will have some vision loss no matter what happens in that eye, and that's concerning. And I just think that, obviously, the cliched line is, take as much time as you need. Your health is more important than the team, which is, of course, true, but we got to keep in mind, for him to take the time now and to heal up is in everyone's best interest, not just in his. But of course, if he rushes back and if he does create more damage to this eye somehow, that hurts the team too. I mean, there's no way around it, especially ultimately if he ends up not being able to coach. So it's in everyone's best interest that they get this figured out. And it sounds like that's what they're doing. If you listen to the interview on Paul Allen's show, sounds like Zimmer feels pretty optimistic about it. So that's encouraging.
BJ, do you think it's a big deal that he's missing OTAs?
I think that it's notable, I guess, because OTAs for me, more than anything, is a chemistry thing and kind of a tone setter, especially for guys, rookies and new free agents. Guys come in, kind of get what's going on, the general tempo, just, the kind of the routine that they go through every single day. And Mike Zimmer's kind of the guy that, he's the head honcho of all of that, right? I mean, he's the brains of the operation. You want to have him shake your hand as you walk in the door, probably. Just because, so that, it's Mike Zimmer's team, it's Mike Zimmer's program. So, yeah, it's concerning. Does it really matter? Probably not. I mean, there's no way to quantify the loss. But, I mean, I'm not worried about it, but I think it's worth noting that, and a lot of these guys will have their first impression be George Edwards or Andre Patterson, defensive guys specifically, as opposed to being Mike Zimmer, which might actually be a good thing down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask one more question real quick. Worst case scenario, what if Zimmer loses the eye completely? Okay, I mean, like, I don't mean like it falls out of his head,
loses,
but I mean like he loses vision. 100. He only has vision in one eye, right?
He has a glass eye. Yeah.
Right. Do you guys think that he would still be able to be a coach? Because I was kind of thinking about it the other day, and it was even stupid as like closing my eye and like trying to see what it was like, right? And I'm not trying to downplay the issue because I know it is a severe issue, but I was thinking like, okay, Zimmer's a defensive genius. He's been a great head coach so far. If he loses his eye, like, how much is that going to impact him being able to evaluate the team, being on game day, being able to watch the game? And I kind of ended up as, I don't know that it's a huge issue, and that I think he'd probably still be a fine head coach. No?
I don't. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Sam.
No. Well, here's the way I'd put it. If you were born with one eye, would you notice you don't have two? You only need one. Unlike Austin, I am a doctor. And I can tell you that to coach football, you only need one eye. Basically, you'll adjust. Yeah, you'll lose some depth perception. It'll suck. It'll hinder your quality of life. But eventually, from what I hear, honestly, you do adjust to it. This is your new normal. And it's like when something smells bad around you, but then you're just by it for a long time. Eventually, your body just adjusts to it. And you don't smell it anymore. And so there will be a few things with depth perception and things like that go out the window. But otherwise, his mind is still there. And so in terms of his defensive genius, that doesn't go away. He's not blind. He can still watch film. I think in the long run, he'd be fine.
Yeah, and he was on PA's show, and I know, he's got to say these things, but he did sound pretty optimistic. He was on his way to Kentucky for a couple weeks and said that, they really just thought it was best to get him away from the team for a little while. He mentioned not being able to, look above the horizon. I think he's supposed to keep his eyesight down while his eye is healing. So that might be one of the reasons they decided to let him rest a little bit. But I'm honestly, I'm not really that concerned about it, and I'm pretty anxious about most things. So I'm optimistic that this one's gonna turn out. So
what did you think, Austin?
I was gonna say, I think if he does come back, if he does return, it's probably a safety issue. Say he does lose his vision, he has to coach up in a booth. He can't be on the sideline during games, and I think you lose a little bit of that, like what BJ was saying about OTAs. You lose a little bit that leadership that he might bring, being a head coach with his personality.
Why would he have to be in a booth?
Just because
it changes your vantage point. A lot of as people get older and they start to lose their vision, a lot of these guys like Wade Phillips, for example, they like to take the downward angle so they get the all 22 version, essentially, like the in life all 22 version. So coaches, when they can't fixate on little things, they move up into the booth so they can see more instead of specific intricacies. Right?
Maybe.
It makes sense.
I think he might still be able to coach from the sideline. He
absolutely
probably needs someone protecting his blind spot.
Can I just say that we had a guy at Marquette University that played 4 years of Division I basketball as our starting center who had a glass eye. That's playing basketball. That's playing basketball. And he played at Division I level and was a starting center and ended up playing in Europe for a couple of years. So if he can play basketball for 4 years with one eye, I would assume there's been some adjustment for him. I would assume that Mike Zimmer can absolutely coach football if this guy is playing basketball.
So
it doesn't translate, but you know what I'm saying.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, so next we're going to talk about the Vikings added a couple new guys to the team. We're going to hit each one of them. Sorry, can you guys hear my dogs?
Yeah, but it's nice ambiance.
Right, my bad. All right, so I'm going to challenge BJ. I'm going to have BJ talk about both of these guys, put them on the spot. But here's the catch, BJ. I'm keeping you to a minute on each guy, and I'm going to be timing you. Okay, and I want to know. Give me a brief scouting report on each guy, and then where they're going to fit into the Vikings roster. First, we're going to start with Will Sutton. Ready, set, go.
All right, Will Sutton is an extremely athletic player that's a little bit undersized for his position. He was drafted into a 4-3 defensive end role, but when they hired Vic Fangio in Chicago, he's transitioned to a 3-4 role, which doesn't really suit his skill set because he's more of a kind of a 3 technique that can split out wide into a 5-eye. So you're looking a little bit kind of like Brian Robinson to some degree, but a little bit undersized also. So he has the ability to move from 5 to 3 to 0 all the way across the board, but it's about weight for him, depends on how much he puts on, and he's just not suited for a 3-4 look because he's more of an athletic type that's going to try to get around you as opposed to, quick step guy that's going to hit you with stunts and whatnot as opposed to being a guy that's going to bull rush with power.
Where's he at on the Vikings roster? 10 seconds.
Where is he at?
Yeah, where does he fit in?
Where does he slot in?
Oh, I would say that he's probably going to replace Shamar Stephen as the backup nose tackle and also be able to flex to the 3 tech if needed.
Okay. Bam. That's a minute right there. All right. Moving right along.
Concise.
Freddie Tagaloa. He is offensive tackle, right?
Guard.
Guard. My bad. Ready, set, go.
Guard. Yeah, he's a monstrous human being. I think he's like 6'8", 335 pounds or something like that. Coming out of Arizona. I don't know his name. He wasn't listed by most draft analysts. Only the national guys got him. Even Lance Zierlein doesn't have an online draft profile for him. So you actually have to look into him to learn these things about him. He sets a great anchor, as you might expect, with his power. The guy that can really kind of drop that back foot, sink his hips real quick, and get a good push off the line of scrimmage. That he's good against bull rushing types. That's why he fits in against a left guard spot where he's going to be seeing power and finesse. The problem with him is his finesse ability and how he's able to kind of attack that quick jump. He doesn't get his hands up quick enough, but he does have the lateral motion to do the position to be a good pull blocker and get out in front of guys and lead blocking attempts and stuff like that. So he gets the second level very well, great power. You just got to wonder if he can handle NFL-type power, the combination of NFL power and finesse and not knowing when it's going to come to him.
Man. I think that deserves a round of applause right there, man.
Quite nice. Quite nice.
No, that was good, man. You hit a minute on each of them on the dot, so I appreciate that.
Good.
All right, moving right on. We're gonna talk about my favorite person in the world. This is a person that Austin loves to hate for some reason, even though he's wearing his jersey tonight. I don't understand. So the Vikings put out a video today of Teddy Bridgewater at OTAs. Slinging the ball around a little bit. Apparently, I wasn't on Twitter today, but it apparently set the internet on fire. Got everybody, got the troops riled up. Shout out to all my Teddy Bridgewater fan club members out there. I'm glad to hear you guys were doing the work today on Twitter.com. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this? I mean, does this change anything for you? Change the level of optimism, Austin?
Oh, man. So the Vikings released this video a week after I say this is just a huge PR stunt. You know, they're trying to
added you in this tweet, right?
Huh?
Did they at you in this tweet? Did they say like at Austin?
No. It has nothing to do with me. I just think the timing's funny that we're talking about the return of Teddy Bridgewater, and then this week when OTAs start, they put out a video of him slinging the ball and poor Sam Bradford in the back with his shoulders hunched and upset. And it doesn't really excite me. I'm happy for Teddy Bridgewater. This is kind of what I said last time. Like, I'm happy that he's actually out there with his teammates. Everybody's rallying around him. He can actually throw a football, drop back a little bit, even if it's ginger and kind of slow. But I feel like, I'm going to say it, Sam Bradford's gotten a pretty raw deal. He's the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings who put together a pretty good season last year, and there is zero excitement around him this season. And he's a top 15 quarterback. So, you know, this is fine and dandy that Teddy Bridgewater is back, but he's really not, and people are getting excited about a guy who might not even take a snap this year. So I plan to get ripped for that, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, and I can't even really disagree with you too much. You know, like we were talking about before the show, I agree 100% that Bradford is being disrespected. I think we've talked about it on the show before. It's not fair. I can't necessarily explain why this dynamic exists, but it does exist, and Bradford is at the short end of it, and it kind of sucks for him. But hopefully he can persevere. Hopefully he can prove this season that he is the guy, and he can prove that he's a top 12 quarterback in the NFL.
You guys in these Teddy jerseys are being the voice of reason on this Teddy thing. I don't know that I expected that.
Well, this was more in honor of this little video. I was just commending.
Well, no, I mean, it's exciting, right? Like, it feels like maybe he's ahead of where he should be. You know, I did watch the video a couple times. He looked like he was being a little ginger on that front foot, or front leg, sorry. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to tamper my expectations a little bit because I don't want to be hurt.
But that's not a bad thing, and that's why I mentioned this voice of reason thing, because I saw almost none of that online today. What I saw was grown men acting like giddy schoolgirls over a slow motion video of this quarterback dropping back and throwing a few passes. I wrote a pretty long post on this actually before this video came out, so the timing is interesting, and it will be posted today when this video is posting. But anyway, awesome. It's the sort of the same thing. It's bizarre to me, like you said, Brett, where you can't quite understand it, but there's been this lionization of Teddy Bridgewater, where I think we almost think of him as we were projecting him to turn out rather than what he was before we left, which was a solid player who had the potential to turn into something very, very good, but that remained to be seen. Guys, my wife's from Connecticut. Her entire family is New England Patriots fans. I know, boo, hiss, and all this. They do not talk about Tom Brady the way, in the glowing terms, we talk about Teddy Bridgewater. Think about that.
Yeah. Well,
I
Tom
can't
Brady
really
doesn't
fathom
have
that.
Teddy's smile. So.
That's true. That's true. He kind of comes off like a dick and a dork, neither of which Teddy do. But I basically just agree with you guys. I think that it's encouraging to see. We still have no idea. Drew Mahold, our guy who couldn't be here tonight, put it out on Twitter today saying, hey, this is nice, but this doesn't really tell us anything else. And so we'll just have to wait and see like usual. And until then, we have a suitable quarterback in Sam Bradford.
It kind of does tell us a couple things, though. I'm in the crop that's optimistic on this one. I think you guys are wrong, honestly.
Oh, hold on. No, I'm on BJ's side. I'm totally Go ahead, BJ. Tell them why they're wrong.
I think this video meant a lot more than people think, honestly. And I mean, I'm not one to jump to conclusions either. I've been right there with you guys throughout all these 8 seconds clips of Cordero Patterson running in the sand or whatever it is, and we've been doing the video thing for 2 years now.
It's all in slow-mo too, right? It's got to be in slow-mo. That just takes it up a notch.
This video told me more than just the actual act of the 39-second video or whatever it is. First of all, he's at OTAs practicing with his teammates. So that means that he's studying up on Pat Shurmur's playbook. That means that he's working hard to integrate himself into this new look offense, which by the time, if he ever does come back in Minnesota, it's going to be a completely different show to the one that he most recently started with Norv Turner. So the fact that he's just there taking reps under center with Sam Bradford and Taylor Heineke and just doing that type of stuff, that's super important to me. Second of all, he did put weight on that back foot. And that was the first thing that I wanted to look for. When people kept saying to me, what do you need to see from Teddy Bridgewater before you start talking about him coming back? I want to see weight on the back foot. I want to see him, that's the first step. The next one is getting him a big body in his face and seeing how he reacts to pressure in his face and just the whole mental aspect of it. But in terms of his motion and his drop back and his footwork and stuff like that, it looks just like he did when whatever it was, a year ago. He looks fine. His fundamentals don't look any bit off. There is he looks like he knows what he's still doing. And guys, he almost died. So there's a reason to be the fact that he's come through the program this quickly is extremely impressive, first of all, and says a lot about who he is as a person. And second of all, this wasn't supposed to happen at all. He wasn't even supposed to be on the field right now.
Said who? Said who? Who said that?
Every doctor. Every doctor said he was out indefinitely without any chance of playing within a year and a half. He's on the field.
Who said that? Who said that?
The initial report, it was out indefinitely with no timetable, and the closest timetable was
indefinitely means no timetable. That doesn't mean he won't be back. It means we have no idea when he'll be back, and that's how it's been this whole time. And he's still not back because he was.
Right. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that he's back. I'm arguing that this video actually says more than stupid little Instagram videos that everyone chalks up to being more than they are. This particular video tells me a lot of different things that just the fact that he's at OTAs on day one. Practicing with his teammates, that's important in itself. And just the fact that he was putting pressure all over his feet and that his footwork didn't look messed up on, I think it was 5-step drops that he was taking, which isn't just cake for quarterbacks. That's a career derailer for a lot of guys. So the fact that he is able to come back, and it's just 40 seconds, but it looks like he gets what he's doing still, and he didn't know where he was a year ago. I think that's worthy of noting.
But
you guys on the right, shut up. I'm with BJ on this one.
No, I don't think a video from OTA says anything about his standing on the depth chart right now.
No, it doesn't. I did not say that. I did not say that.
But you said he's learning the system. He's taking reps. I don't think these reps mean anything for Teddy Bridgewater.
Why not?
He
has to get
OTAs. Of course, you said yourself, OTAs is about chemistry, and it's kind of
taking reps with your teammates is building chemistry.
But I don't think these are meaningful reps that are going to mean anything outside.
These are the most meaningful reps of his entire career. career. He's been off the football field thinking that there was a very real potential that his career was over. And now he's back on the field. These are absolutely the most meaningful reps of his entire career.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Absolutely.
No.
You guys don't.
No, until we're full speed, until we're in a situation where he's actually got to put meaningful pressure on that leg, where he's being asked to do what Sam Bradford's asked to do. I don't think these mean anything outside of we should feel good that he's doing it.
I don't think it's fair to say they don't mean anything.
Okay, they mean something.
Yeah,
but I'm saying in terms of
I think
straight football,
I think there's a happy medium between you two right now. One thing, and I don't.
I think that I am the happy medium, honestly, and you guys are taking my
you sound
defiance.
You sound like the president-elect for the Teddy Bridgewater fan club, man. I don't know about happy medium.
He might be. Well, Brett and Austin, do you guys believe that he was putting full weight on that leg?
Well, but
no, I didn't say that.
And hold on, just to be clear, though, it's his front leg. It's not his planning leg.
It's his front leg, not his back leg. He was definitely putting full pressure on the back leg.
It's the weight transition that matters, though. Is the point that I'm making.
I thought he. If I'm being honest, I thought he looked a tad bit ginger, but I do think it's impressive still. I think considering where we were when everything happened and where we are now,
I think we're all on the same page with that.
I think we are too. I'm just simply saying it more optimistically than you guys are. I think.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm not saying this means anything in terms of him starting this or even playing this.
Sure.
And there's a reason why I'm not throwing Sally's over here about Teddy Bridgewater being back. I'm simply saying this video has merit. Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's literally my point here. Is that this video, as opposed to all the other ones that people have, gone off the wire about in the past, this one actually has real merit in my mind.
We could talk about this forever, so I want to wrap it up really quick. But one thing I do think is interesting to note too is that I think this says something about the team, right? Like they put out this video. For a reason, I imagine. They knew it was going to stir people up, so I just kind of wonder what the angle from the Vikings is.
That's probably the more important point here, honestly.
Right now, what the angle is? Austin, tell them what the angle is.
Clicks, engagements.
They're not stupid.
Driving fans to the page.
But don't you think they're conscious about the fact that they
Sam
could be?
Bradford.
Don't you think they're conscious about the fact that they could be potentially building hope only?
Yes.
No, hold on. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't feel like they would be doing this if there was no merit to it, just for the clicks, knowing that they're just going to let everyone down later when they come out and say, well, Teddy's not going to play this entire season.
But they don't know that. It's all up in the air still. So, of course, they don't know that. Yeah, I agree that if they knew he wasn't going to play, they wouldn't be doing this. But
I want to know what they're thinking about with Sam Bradford. I feel bad for like Austin and Sam said at the very beginning.
We all agree.
I feel bad for Sam. Why? That would be my question to the team: is how are you putting these out there? It's not like he's not seeing this,
Mm-hmm.
He's not seeing that fan.
Instagram story today, so he did get a little social media love.
That's true.
I have one thing to say. I said it to Sam before the show. It's like Teddy Bridgewater goes out there, we celebrate, it's great. But then Sam Bradford comes in and probably zips the ball around a way Teddy Bridgewater can't even do. So again, we're missing out on the fact that there's already a pretty good quarterback under center ready to go.
I would agree.
We're not getting hyped about him. We should. We should get hyped about Sam Bradford.
I agree.
I'll co-sign on that. That's my bottom line too.
All right, guys. So we're gonna jump in. We're gonna jump into. We're gonna talk about this so many times. The Teddy and Sam thing. Oh my gosh.
Constant.
This will not be the last time.
We already have.
I know. This will not be the last time we talk about this. It'll probably be every episode from here on out. All right, so we're going to jump into these position grades and depth. We're going to start at wide receiver. Surprisingly, this was one of our best graded positions across the board from all the guys here at VT. And I say it's surprising because, like you were mentioning before the show, BJ, they weren't necessarily an exceptional group last season. How long has it been since we've had 1,000-yard wide receiver? They don't really, when you think about the Vikings, you don't think about, an elite group of wide receivers. Yet I feel like some of our grades, we're grading them almost like that. So let me run through the depth chart really quick. We got Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Michael Floyd, Laquan Treadwell, Jarius Wright, Rodney Adams, Stacy Coley, Isaac Fruchty, and Caleb Jones, Mitch Matthews, Moritz Boringer, and R.J. Shelton. That's a lot of people. Obviously, all those guys aren't going to make the final roster. I don't even know why I said that. I mean, obviously they're not going to. But, 6 or 7 of those guys will. We're not making any depth chart predictions today. However, we graded them pretty high across the board, all things considered. The average grade for this group out of 10 was 7.43. And then what's surprising, too, maybe not surprising, the average depth grade was 9 out of 10. I think Adam had the highest depth grade on this group. He gave him a 10, so I wish Adam was here so we could talk about that. I think the lowest grades probably came from me, Adam, and Drew for the overall grade. We gave this group a 7 overall. I don't know. What do you guys – so anyone want to talk about their grade for the wide receiver group?
Well, I gave him a 9 for depth, and I think that might be the talker here is that there's not elite end talent, but I think those names you read off and, even extrapolating for who's eventually going to make the roster, even if we're assuming Jarius Wright will be released or traded, that's a pretty packed depth chart. So while there might not be one guy who's head and shoulders above everybody else, you got a first-round draft pick from last year who's sitting 4th right now. And you have 2 draft picks this year who probably won't be able to make the roster, both of them. So in terms of depth, I think that's why we all graded it so high.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this group, I don't see a clear-cut number 1. But like you said, Sam, I see a lot of guys that can be number 2s and number 3s. So I think the biggest question is who's going to take that step to be the number 1. I think you guys talked about that recently, right, BJ, on the About the Labor podcast, where, and if I remember correctly, I think maybe it was the one with you and Sam. I think you were saying that you felt Thielen was going to be that guy.
That was Sam that said that.
I thought he could be the 1,000. We were talking about if anybody will break the 1,000-yard.
Yeah.
And I think the reasoning there, correct me if I'm wrong, was that Diggs just has a problem staying on the field.
Yes.
Is there any doubt, or is there anyone that wants to say otherwise, that if Diggs plays 16 games, he'll be the number 1 receiver on the team?
I think if catches are number 1, if you consider a guy number 1 in catches, I think if Diggs stays healthy, he leads the team. He might not get the most yards, but I think he'll be the most targeted player.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's probably a few different stats where we can say, well, this guy's number 1 in this stat, or this guy's number 1 in this stat. But who do you guys think the number 1 wide receiver is on this team?
Diggs.
Diggs?
No doubt.
I think they look at Diggs as the number 1 guy.
Don't even have to think about it. It's Diggs. When Stephon Diggs is out there, he's the best wide receiver.
Now, let me ask this. How did Michael Floyd impact your guys' grade?
A ton.
So it impacted BJ's a ton. So BJ, did it impact both your overall grade and your depth grade?
Absolutely, yeah.
And what do you think? You want to say a point or two? Like, so what would it have been? I know not to put you on the spot, but because I know it's a lot to think about. But so without Michael Floyd, would you have given them a 7 instead of an 8 for your overall grade? Does that seem fair?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's difficult to say just on trying to give him a grade. I think that the way that Michael Floyd impacts the team is just that he completes this depth chart in terms of versatility and just being able to do all the different things. You had a question mark there with Laquan Treadwell. You bolstered that kind of that red zone threat. We've talked about this a million times, the big body receiver that can go up and get the ball that the Vikings haven't had since Sidney Rice. That was a huge impact maker for me in terms of overall quality of the depth chart, and then just simply adding a guy that's a former first-round pick to a depth chart that already includes 2 guys that basically broke out over the last 2 years over in Diggs and Thielen, plus an established guy in Jarius Wright who might not even be there. And then you throw in Laquan Treadwell, who, like you guys said, first-round pick last year. There's still potential there as well. So you got 4 guys right there who are essentially high-quality players, or you would expect them to be heading into this year. And you've got some nice depth options in Adams, Coley, Wright. The fact that Wright might get cut should say it all, because that's a guy that's going to be on a 53-man roster when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think we've all kind of assumed Wright's going to be out of the picture. Although, if they choose to keep 7, I could see him sticking around still.
I don't see 7. Do you guys remember the last time we kept 7?
I thought we kept 7 last season.
A couple years ago, right? 2018, maybe?
Like beyond the first week, like we might have kept 7 on like
right.
September.
I think we kept
September
6
1st, and
the
then
most I remember.
that's what I think too, Austin.
Yeah,
I see 6. I see 6 this year as well.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think Coley and
I don't
Wright
know.
maybe are competing for a spot.
Probably.
But yeah. Okay, so moving on, our next 5 are all going to be along the offensive line. Maybe we should have summarized these into one for the sake of brevity. Sorry, what BJ?
I was going to tell you to hop from quarterback, like you started with wide receiver. I would say with wide receiver, but it doesn't matter. Keep going.
Well, you know what? You're right. Let's move to let's stay in the skill position. Is that what you're saying?
Right, because you're separating essentially 2 different pieces of the puzzle.
Sure. Yeah. So
makes sense.
Yeah. So let's talk about running backs really quick. This was our highest graded group, both in the average overall grade as well as the depth of the position. Going across the board, I mean, I'm looking at 8.5s, 9s, 8, 9, 9, 9. I think Sam had the lowest grade for this group at a 7, so we'll ask him about that in a second. And that was his overall grade, not his depth, because he did give depth a 10. I mean, across the board, this was our highest graded group. Not a whole lot of disparity between our grades, so I think we all pretty much agree on that. We got Murray, Cook, and McKinnon. I mean, you might have the best best group of 3 running backs in the NFL right out of the gate, potentially. I know maybe that's a big statement to make. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it is, but
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah. So that whole group, though, we got Murray, Cook, McKinnon, and then we got Bishop Sankey, C.J. Ham, and Terrell Newby. It's important to note that I think there's been some talk about C.J. Ham being at fullback, but like we tried to grade the fullbacks and some people put 2s, and then other people didn't even grade it. So I was just like, I'm just going to move C.J. Ham to running back. So I don't know, Sam. Let's okay. Hold on. Let me start off here. And BJ brought this up before the show. I think it's kind of interesting that the Vikings running backs were one of the worst groups in the NFL last year, and now we are all agreeing that it's the strongest position on the offense. Is that the offensive line? I don't know, Sam. What do you think? You gave the group the lowest grade.
Well, yeah, that's part of the reason I gave it a 7. I thought, I guess I'm not an overly easy grader, so I don't think 7 is a low grade. But I think, like you said, they were overall terrible last year, and we're raising them up and lifting them up quite a bit based purely on speculation because of the new players that were added. We expect to make the unit a lot better, but we just don't know. Latavius Murray, for me, is a good chain-moving back who can catch the ball out of the backfield. I don't know that he excites me a whole lot, and I don't know that he's as talented as the fantasy football community may think. Jerick McKinnon, I like as a player, a complimentary player. I don't think he'll be named an All-Pro anytime soon. Happy with what he adds. And then Dalvin Cook, to me, is just an unknown. I know we're excited about him. I'm excited about him, too, and I think he's going to take over, especially in the second half of the season, and really do well in that position. But we just don't know yet. That's why I gave him a 7. But I did give him a 10 for depth, and that was the only 10 I gave on depth, just because I don't think you find a more well-rounded stable of 3 running backs in the NFL.
And a more diverse skill set across the
exactly.
too.
Yeah, complementary. So I really like the position. I really like that about that. I guess I just don't see elite talent.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Do you guys remember when the New York Giants had Brandon Jacobs, Darrell Ward, and Ahmad Bradshaw as their 3-headed monster?
Yep.
It looks a lot like that to me, except for I would say that Ahmad Bradshaw is a better between the tackles runner than McKinnon is. But as far as the kind of the how it's built and it's constructed, it seems like a more athletic, more high-ceiling group of trio, which, I think Sam's fair to grade it as a 7 right now, but you have to put a little asterisk next to that 7 that by, like, October 15th, it could be 9.5 if Dalvin Cook bursts on the scene, shows a complete skill set in the NFL as well.
Yeah, I almost feel like you have to, like, write off last year when you're looking at this group. One, because...
it literally is an outlier.
Right.
It's the worst ever.
Right.
Like, ever.
And, obviously Peterson's gone, so that changes a lot of things, although he didn't play a lot last season. But I think the biggest thing that makes it hard to talk about this position last year is obviously the offensive line. And that's why I'm always that guy harping on building up the offensive line. And one of the reasons is because it just makes it so difficult to evaluate all of your skill positions across the board when your offensive line is as bad as the Vikings was. So it's almost, and people throw a lot of shade at Jerick McKinnon. I'm a big Jerick McKinnon supporter. I still think he has a lot to show. And I think a lot of people are putting a lot of blame on his shoulders that should have been on the offensive line. So I graded this group at a 8.5 overall grade and a depth of 9 because I agree with Sam and everyone else here. I think the depth is pretty phenomenal at the position right now.
And we're not even talking about Bishop Sankey either.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not. I mean, I know he's not going to make the roster, but that's pretty damn good for a guy that's not going to make the roster.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a big what if. Peter King said Dalvin Cook could be a top 5 back by the middle of the season, so you could
I don't think he's too far off.
At a 10. So 10 out of 10. So we'll see. I'm optimistic about it. I'm optimistic about most things.
Yeah, well, that's a good time to bring up the fact that Austin had the highest average grade of the group. So Mr. Optimistic did not disappoint.
That's our guy.
We'll talk about the worst grade overall maybe next episode when that person's here. Okay, so next group, let's talk about tight ends really quick. We got Kyle Rudolph, David Morgan the second, our favorite Bucky Hodges, Kyle Carter, Nick Truesdell, you get
Truesdell,
whatever, doesn't matter.
Truesdell. I think it's Truesdell.
Josiah Price. So this group graded at a 7.57 average grade for our team here, and we gave them a depth of 6.36 depth grade. I think it's interesting to note that we had a lot of disparity on the depth grade, and I wish that person was here to talk about it. Maybe we can kind of try and guess where they're coming from, but Adam gave this position group a depth grade of 3. Anyone have any idea why you would do that?
Because Bucky Hodges is a wide receiver.
A 3 out of 10 for tight end depth, yes.
For depth.
Well,
It's because Bucky Hodges is a wide receiver. That's why he did that.
Did he tell you that, or are you guessing?
I'm telling you that's the answer.
Okay.
You can check with him afterwards, but I guarantee that's the reason why. It's because he loves tight ends and he knows that he's not a well-rounded tight end, so he doesn't actually make up position on that depth chart. So he's evaluating Kyle Rudolph and David Morgan, who essentially is an unknown as far, to use Sam's lingo there, it's essentially an unknown going into next season because we have seen so little of him.
Yeah. So then you take out Bucky Hodges, you got Kyle Rudolph, David Morgan, Kyle Carter, and then it's not even really worth mentioning guys after that because they're not going to make the roster anyway. So I guess when you put it that way, I guess maybe I agree with it now. I mean, I gave it a 6.5, so my depth grade wasn't great either. His was just really low, and I think across the board we all had pretty low depth grades. Although BJ, you gave him an 8.
Yeah.
So
I did. Yeah.
So are you including Bucky Hodges in that then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot of it, you don't need to. You can play tight end in the NFL without being an inline tight end.
Yeah, that's why I don't even know how you evaluate the depth of the tight end position. Really,
right.
I mean, I don't. You could go either way because you have Kyle Rudolph. Okay, what if Kyle Rudolph goes down? Do we have a replacement for what Kyle Rudolph does? Not really. But you also have a good, well-rounded pass-catching tight end at the top of the depth chart. You have, in theory, your blocking tight end, that Reidell replacement in David Morgan.
He's pretty athletic, by the way.
Yeah, and then you have Bucky Hodges, that young. So it could be a depth of a 9. I mean, it's hard to evaluate tight end depth.
So what is the depth hinging on for you, Sam? So why is it so hard to evaluate for you?
I don't know.
Because you don't know where Hodges fits into.
Each tight end is a different mold, and there's no mirror image of any of them.
Yeah.
So there's no Kyle Rudolph clone. There's no Bucky Hodges clone. So if Rudolph goes down, that position's just a wreck.
Hold on
if
a second, though, Because we said the same thing for the running back group, and for that reason, we gave them a high depth grade. I mean, you could make the same argument that those 3 running backs all have different skill sets, and if one of them goes down, it can't be replaced.
No.
I just think it's a fundamentally different
Don't
position.
tell me no.
I would go with what Sam said. I think Sam
Kick you out of this
answered it the
room.
way.
You'd probably
What do you got?
like that, wouldn't you?
I think I actually like Michael Pruitt back like a couple years ago better than I like David Morgan. I just did. I thought he was a better fit for the kind of like pass catching tight end. I don't really know that what David Morgan brings. Didn't show a lot last year. I was bummed they got rid of Reidell. So you've got the same kind of questions in that.
So was
all
his
these
dad.
guys are.
So was his dad.
Yeah. So you've got all these guys with different skill sets, but the running backs, it's a case where you know that if Murray goes down, Cook can fill in, and if Cook goes down, McKinnon can fill in. Like, if you lose Kyle Rudolph, that's a much bigger blow than losing a Latavius Murray. So I'm high on Kyle Rudolph. I always have been. I've always been in the dude's corner. But I don't know what happens after that if he gets hurt like he's known to get hurt. So I can see why our depth grade is a little bit lower.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. Anything else to add about tight ends before we move on? No one cares about tight ends?
No, we're just in the interest
I
of
know.
not having this be 3 hours.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, quarterback. Let's move to quarterbacks, okay? So,
This will be a quick one.
yeah, looking at the depth chart, we got Sam Bradford. Actually, I'm sorry. We had Teddy Bridgewater as player 1 on the depth. Oh, no, that's wrong. I changed that. You guys know that.
Freudian slip.
Teddy Bridgewater is number 1, 2, and 3 on the depth chart.
And he's got 10s across the board. So next position. No, we got Sam Bradford, Case Keenum, Taylor Heineke, Teddy Bridgewater, and Wes Lunt. We gave this group a average grade of just about 7.86, and we gave the depth 6.57. So it sounds like everyone is it looks like we gave Bradford 8s across the board except for BJ for his grade, and then it sounds like there's some question marks though surrounding the depth. I think a lot of those questions are probably answered if Teddy's healthy, but if he's not healthy, we're looking at Case Keenum and Taylor Heineke. I remember hearing someone in the comments on VT the other day saying too, really talking up Case Keenum, just being like, Case Keenum's really going to surprise people.
Big Case Keenum fan.
Is that you are, Sam?
No. This guy, I
well,
can't remember his name, but he's been lurking ever since I did the quarterback when we did our position previews. He had like 3 Case Keenum comments saying we need to sign him.
And BJ, I know you're a big Taylor Heineke guy.
Yeah, I'm a big no to Case
I was going to say
Keenum guy.
big anti-Case Keenum.
But I thought you were a big Taylor Heineke guy. Don't you
I'm a
think?
huge Taylor Heineke guy. Yeah,
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
but I'm a huge Taylor Heineke guy, but I'm more of an anti-Case Keenum guy than that. That should say enough about my opinion there.
Well, so how do we? So would you say that Heineke will be above Keenum on the depth chart?
I would hope so.
He's not going to be. I'd put my money on that. You want to bet on that, BJ?
I do. Yeah, how much?
Snap! Is this our first roundtable bet?
You guys should
think
bet
so.
a month of
What
earnings.
should we bet? A month's earnings?
Ooh.
We're
not.
making a lot of money out here, so I don't know. That's a lot of change to put on the table.
How about?
All right, we're gonna have to come up with something maybe off
come
the
up
air
with
because we gotta maybe we'll do something fun on the roundtable where the person that loses the bet has to do something or.
So Austin thinks it's definitely going to. BJ didn't think Keenum was going to make the opening day roster. Austin thinks he will and will be the primary backup.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the bet? So let's just keep it as a straight depth chart bet that whoever's ahead on the depth chart.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why you like Keenum? You like what you've seen out of Keenum, or you just think his experience, or what?
You talking about
He does
Victor Reed?
outdoors.
No, Austin.
I think Sam's talking to me. I think the NFL is still pretty traditional in the way they look at things. They see a guy like Keenum who's played in playoff games and played for playoff teams, and they value that even if his skill set may not be as good as the guy behind him. So you could lose out on a guy like Heineke who, kicked the door in and was out for the season because of it. He makes a dumb decision like that, and the team kind of holds on to that. And then you've got someone like Keenum who maybe not as good. I'm going with the purely political view of football that they pick who's a safer pick, and that's Keenum. Not that I like him more. I just think that's what's going to happen.
Real quick, why do you hate Case Keenum, DJ?
Because he's Sean Hill that stepped in a time machine for about 8 years back. He's the exact same player as Sean Hill. Period. That's all I need to say. He's literally Sean Hill.
Okay, so
watch his games. He's Sean Hill.
So let me ask you guys this. Sorry, go ahead.
Why?
Go ahead.
I just said why. Why would you want Sean Hill 10 years ago? I mean, he's not going to win.
He wasn't a terrible backup.
I mean, neither is Case Keenum. In my opinion, I don't like rostering guys when you know who they are as a backup.
So
it's
for
not giving you any upside.
For you, it's upside, right? So you'd rather give that roster spot to somebody who...
Yeah, and a guy that's been immersed in the system since Pat Shurmur arrived. So I like that guy.
So let me ask.
See,
this.
I like safety. Actually, maybe I'm going with Austin's view of NFL coaches in the backup position, just because it's so likely that Sam Bradford does miss time.
See, part of my reasoning here, by the way, is that when I think of a quarterback getting hurt, I think of him going down forever, because that's my perception of quarterbacks. That's Culpepper, Bridgewater, etc. So when I think about the quarterback going down, I'm thinking about the quarterback filling in for the next 10 games.
Gotcha.
And Taylor Heineke, in my opinion, wins more of those 10 games because I think he has the ability to continue to get better over time and get essentially. Assuming, let's say he starts 10 games, Vikings squeak in the playoffs, I like Taylor Heineke as an upside candidate to win that game, as opposed to I know Case Keenum's going to lose that game.
All right, let me ask a simple question.
One game,
Keenum?
probably take Case Keenum.
Okay.
So that's why I kind of think they'll end up doing 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah, sure. No, I think that's fair. So let me ask a quick question. Sam Bradford goes down, let's say week 6, okay? Which we know is, I would say, almost probable. I mean, just given his history, that he'll be injured at some point during the season. So let's just say he goes down week 6 and he's done the rest of the season. Either Case Keenum or Taylor Heineke is now put into the starting role. Do you guys think, and I think we'd all agree that the Vikings are a playoff caliber team, with Bradford down and one of those 2 guys in, do you think the Vikings are a playoff caliber team?
What's 9-7 slip in with a wild card spot?
Yeah.
Does that count?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say yes.
I could see that.
Yep.
Okay, so you guys don't think the fall off of the cliff is as big as...
No.
Okay.
I think they've done enough to lessen the blow of a fall like that off the cliff. There's enough pieces around the quarterback position where I think it's okay. But again, it's a huge what if. What happens to those pieces? Do you lose a guard, a tackle, a wide receiver, a running back, defensive tackles, everybody else? So
the Vikings are built to win, 14-10 football games, right? Say 13-10, honestly. A touchdown and 2 field goals. That's kind of how they're built, right? That doesn't ask the quarterback to do a whole lot. So when you lose your starting quarterback, it really sucks. But the biggest problem is just not having that continuity there and kind of having to flip the system to someone else, which kind of sputters you for 2 or 3 weeks. But once someone else kind of steps in there, I would say that drop off, and this isn't a knock on Bradford. It's just kind of the way the offense is built, in my opinion, from my vantage point. It's the team as a whole. They're trying to win football games with defense. The quarterback is kind of part 2 or part 3 on that equation to winning football games.
Totally agree. It's not a quarterback dependent offense, which we should feel comfortable with. By the way, Brett, you asked earlier if Teddy Bridgewater is healthy, the depth of this unit is now an 11.
Yeah. That was actually just going to say that. I was like, okay, if he's healthy by week 6, or and.
But what does the grade change?
Oh, for sure.
The overall, I'm saying the overall grade.
Maybe
the
slightly.
depth grade was just established as an 11.
I'd go from 8 to a 9.
Yeah, I might bump it up a half point.
I would go from 7 to 8.
But I'd put the depth really high up there too. I think you'd probably have the best quarterback depth in the league at that point. Maybe behind the Patriots.
No, the best.
I would give it Garoppolo.
Patriots.
I would say the best.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. But there's an argument to be made that Jimmy Garoppolo is better right now than either Bradford or Bridgewater.
There is that argument.
There is.
There's always an
That's another
argument. You
show.
can make any argument.
Sure. No, I know. I'm saying I might make that argument, but I actually don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
Jacoby
I
Brissett.
don't know that I agree with that. I think Garoppolo works under the greatest head coach of all time, and sometimes that
that has a lot to do with it. Totally.
Okay, so moving on. Do we have to talk about the offensive line?
Can we just lump it all into one?
Lump them together.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a good way to sum this up because basically
Go do some averages.
Basically, okay, yeah, the grades across the board are crap. Is to basically sum it up. So, all right, so I'll run through some averages. Left tackle, we have a grade of 6.3. Left guard, we have a grade of 6.6. Center, we have a grade of 6.9. Right guard, we have a grade of 6.5. Right tackle, we have a grade of 5.6. It's actually our lowest average for any position. And then for the depth, just running through the depth really quick, we gave a 4 to left tackle. We gave about a 4.5 to left guard. 6.5 for center, so we're saying center's our deepest position along the offensive line. And then right guard has 4.5, and right tackle has 3.5. So it actually, right tackle has our lowest average grade and our lowest average depth of any other position.
I was generous too with my grade looking at that.
Yeah, I mean, and so maybe let's talk about right tackle really quick. Mike Remmers, Jeremiah Searles, and Aviante Collins. And I know BJ, you were talking about moving Collins. I'm sorry, to potentially guard before the show. I left him at right tackle, so if you move him to guard, then you're looking at Remmers and Searles.
I'm pretty sure BJ is subtracting points from that grade 2 for Searles' name being on there.
Oh yeah, you hate Searles so much. I don't even know that we can trust you.
I still gave him a 5, honestly. And it was too high because honestly, I think that TJ Clemens should be on the right side.
Jeez, I gave him a 7. The group of 7.
You gave the group a 7?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess maybe I'm just more confident in Remmers.
Yeah.
Remmers is probably my least favorite of the offensive linemen right now.
Agreed.
I would say Remmers is probably the lowest.
Yeah,
I think
now I'm
the
rethinking
weakest link.
Yeah, but I'd say he's an average tackle. I don't think he's like weak like TJ Clemmings. I think they've done a good job of fixing the offensive line for this year. I don't hate the depth. I think I meant to say this like 3 or 4 or 5 roundtables ago, but I think Elflein, who can play center and guard, really gives you a chance with Berger to move around from center to guard. Like, that almost makes him a swing lineman, and I think that bumps the depth for every position for me because I almost consider he can play any of those spots, and so that's like bonus points.
I agree, and that was my thought process in grading it, and that's why it was difficult because I'm like, well, are we just grading? Just grading Berger as a guard and not a center? Because if he's the backup center, which he probably will be if Elflein goes down, then that's a pretty deep position.
The 3 interior line spots don't look too bad on paper.
No,
if you think about the starting 3, Alex Boone is a pretty quality player. I would say he's a borderline all Pro Bowl caliber player.
Pro Bowl. Yeah. I'll give you Pro Bowl. If you were going to say All Pro, I was going to.
I was trying to think of the best word.
But he was a disappointment last season.
I would agree with you, Brent. But I just think that he was very, very good in San Francisco.
Not someone I want to piss off though. So if he's watching, love you.
He got better though with time in Minnesota. Like it started slow, but he became consistent.
The guy next. Yeah, and rotational basis with the guy next to him. I mean, that's not easy to do either. I just think that Berger, Elflein, Boone sounds like a B to B plus area interior.
I think Easton's pretty good too.
Easton, maybe a little Isadora in there, guys, as a backup.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that the interior, if you average the 3 interior spots, the grades, it's right about 6.6, 6.7. Yeah. So I mean, it's close to 7. I think that's pretty fair. I definitely agree with Austin's point about the depth, and I think that's a good way to think about it. Is that you got so many of these guys that can play in multiple positions. You know, it's hard to just look at one position's depth because you got a guy that might be listed as center that can also play guard, so that changes things a little bit. Mm-hmm. But overall, I mean, obviously the weakest unit on the offense still after all the changes all the things that the Vikings did this offseason. So
I'm seeing for left tackle, I gave the depth a 6, and I think the only reason is because the backup, TJ Clemmings, has such extensive game experience. I don't know. Does it have to be good depth?
Rashad Hill's there, though, too.
Sure.
It's one game, but for me, I mean, that impacted my depth grade.
I think I probably had the lowest depth. I gave it a 3.
Which is understandable. Yeah, I mean, I could see a case made for that as well.
Sean Borman, who we're hoping to get on the show here soon, he's the newest VT staff member. He gave that unit a 2, which I also can't really argue with.
2 for 10. Yeah, because I mean, probably, correct me if I'm wrong there, but the thinking is if Reef goes down, they're screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing as last year. We're back to the same thing as last year.
Yeah. And I know there's some Rashad Hill truthers out there, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm here.
So anything else to add on the offensive line before we wrap this thing up? I really don't want to talk about the offensive line anymore.
No, I would say I probably like – is it Reef or Rife? I need to know.
Reef.
I like Reef probably more than most people. I think he's going to be good. And that's about it. What did I give them?
You gave the group a 7 and depth a 6.
Okay, so Adam and I had the highest grade for left tackle, which makes sense.
Has anybody made a Great Barrier Reef, Riley Reef meme joke?
Not yet.
No, you should.
Sounds like a winner, though. You need to get on that.
I mean, TM right now. So.
I don't think you're gonna have much competition with that one, BJ. You go right ahead.
I think everyone loves that idea. I think it's a seller.
Retweets roll in.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode, boys. Let us know if you think the Great Barrier Reef is a good meme in the comments, because we respond to every comment. One of the guys will go through. It's usually me, but also I know BJ's pretty active in the comments. So one of us.
I got into an absolute battle with some dude. Some guy argued me to the death. It was great.
We love that sort of thing. So keep the comments coming. Give us a like, subscribe, and I think what really helps too is if you share. If you share the video and kind of spread our outreach a little bit with your friends organically,
market our product for us, please.
For us, thank you. Well, they see something you like, your friends trust you, they watch the video, they show their friends, and next thing you guys know, we're going to be featured on ESPN.
Hey, Austin, what's the strongest marketing tool available?
The strongest marketing tool?
Yeah, I'm phrasing this wrong, but I've always heard that word of mouth is the strongest advertising.
Oh, word of mouth? Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
Exactly. No, you made my point for me. I don't know why you asked Austin.
No, because Austin does marketing stuff and understands that stuff. I don't know.
That's my full-time job. That's what I do.
Oh, that's true. I guess that's a good reason to ask Austin.
So market us, Austin.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the answer.
So why is our marketing so bad then, Austin?
I phrased it poorly.
Moral of the story: tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Have a good night.